Okay, so here we go, guys. This is really the bulk of what your homework's going to be. This is really the main piece of the section here. We are just going to look at transformations. And if you notice over here, I have anchor points and lattice points. Your book calls these reference points. And I'll talk to you what that means also. Okay, so what is the parent function of this? Is it the reciprocal or the quadratic reciprocal? Which one is it? Just the reciprocal. All right, guys. If, and you don't have to write this part down. You can just watch me if you want. If I plugged in the most basic number, 1, what would be the output for this? 1, exactly. What if I plugged in a -1? You can come in. You're right. Y'all, those are the reference points. Please write that down. Oh, she made me a treat. Those are anchor points, the most basic points of the parent function, the reference points. I'm going to show you in a minute to find the lattice points, but the first thing we're going to do is we're going to knock out these transformations. We're going to review transformations. Okay, so the first thing that we see, if I am reading this as a sentence from left to right, that's the same exact order I'm going to go to apply these transformations. What's the very first thing you see after g of x? -half. Negative, right? What does negative mean? It's a reflection, that's right. So this is a reflect in x-axis. And y'all, I really have to abbreviate. There's not a lot of room and I write big, so reflect in the x-axis. Okay, and he said -0.5. What does the 0.5 mean? What can x not equal? -1. So we got one asymptote right there. X equals -1, one hater. That's not the only hater. So it's impossible to make the fraction 0. So it's impossible for what an output? What's an output? If it's impossible to make that 0, possible to make that fraction a 0. There's no number on the earth that you can plug in to make that a 0. No real number. So if it is impossible for that fraction to become a 0, then it is impossible to get an output of a -3. Okay. Okay, so your asymptotes real quick. So when we go to graph these, +2, +1, okay, and then let's talk about what happens with these transformations. You have a -1/2 at the bottom, which means, first of all, the negative in the bottom, that is a reflection. It's a sideways reflection. Technically, right now, our A value is positive, which means it should be up on the right. But we have a reflection, a sideways reflection, which means it's going to be a mirror. So if I just sketched this just based on what these transformations tell me, then I know that it's going to look like this. Okay, and then back to our domain. Negative infinity to a 2, pick it up where I left off. And then your range is going to be negative infinity to 1, pick up where you left off. Now, y'all, I'm just going to kind of tell you my little shortcut here. But you've got to remember that B is crazy. And remember, when I say crazy, you are going to multiply by a factor of the reciprocal. So remember, when that was at the top, we just multiplied by the factor of a half. But when that half dropped below, it's going to be the reciprocal of a half. What is the reciprocal of a half? That's what we're multiplying by. But we're also keeping the sign. Remember, the sign is negative. So to use my rule up here, it is going to be negative 2. Remember, our anchor points are 1, 1, negative 1, negative 1. I'll go ahead and do the positive anchor points first. It is going to be a negative 2 times a 1. And what is the positive 8, or what is the H value here? How many units did it move to the right? So it's going to be negative 2 times the original anchor point plus 2. That's your brand new x coordinate. So my brand new x coordinate is 0. Now let's go ahead and find the brand new y coordinate. So the brand new y coordinate is going to be ay plus k. There's not an a value. Well, the a value is understood to be 1. So it is going to be the y coordinate plus the k value. One plus 1, 2. Now let's do it again for the negative value, the negative anchor points. So for your negative anchor points, what used to be negative 1 for an x coordinate is now going to be a 4. Your negative 1 for your y coordinate is now going to be 0. So remember, this is just a sketch, but if I would have done it right, my 0, negative 2, and then 4, 0,